continue to monitor a developing tropical cyclone southeast of the state. The storm is expected to be named today. Drew Davis has your first alert update.
Here's an update on the potential storm approaching Hawaii this weekend. Officially, the storm is not named and will likely become a tropical depression over the next several days. Let's take a quick look at the satellite to see what the storm looks like as of Tuesday evening. Notice the system does not have the general look of a tropical storm or hurricane, there's no center of circulation as of yet, and there are two different low pressure systems competing for space and instability. Eventually, these two systems will combine, creating the storm we are expecting this weekend. The crux of this forecast, again, comes from how far north or south this system will move. In the current weather models, there are discrepancies in where and when the storm combines into one, leading to discrepancies in the eventual path of the storm. In other words, high uncertainty still exists in the equation until we have an actual tropical cyclone develop. When this system is tagged as a tropical depression, the Central Pacific Hurricane Center will release an official track that details storm path and intensity through time. As of Tuesday, ensemble weather models have pushed the system further northward compared to what was modeled on Monday, and that means we can't rule out a landfall just yet. The Big Island looks to receive the most impacts this evening, more so for South Point, Ka'u, and the Pahala regions. Heavy rain and strong winds are possible. Again, models can change drastically before we reach this upcoming weekend, and there's still a lot of uncertainty in this forecast. Make sure to check back with our First Alert weather team regularly ahead of the impactful weather this weekend.